Hi, so I actually work for Executive Magazine. And first of all, I apologise for another Brit. I mean, you've had 4 Brit moderators now, so you must be a bit sick of our twang. I wanted to start by talking briefly about an example from the UK about how important e-retail is, about HMV, which is the biggest company in the UK for CDs and DVDs. 10 years ago, it had record profits of just under $200 million, and in January, it went into administration. I think what that shows is how important it is to be investing at the right time in online retail. And the reason it went bust is because they didn't have an online strategy. So today we've got actually only 3 speakers. I'm sad to say that Vera Hassan from Patchy Chocolates is unable, she's sick. On another, with regard to Antoine's, in your books it says that Sani Noufal, the founder, is attending. Unfortunately, he's had an emergency, but we have the equally brilliant Cyril Haji Thomas of Cedar Books, which is Antoine's spin-off for e-commerce. If you'd like to come up. And then we have Savitar Jagtiani, who is the business head, grab a seat, yeah, who is the business head of Landmark Group. Now, for those of you that haven't heard of it, it's a $4 billion company with 26 businesses, 17 retail, 7 hospitality, 1 malls, and recently launched a online shopping company called landmarkshops.com, which is only 3 months old. So, Savitar. And finally, we have Ziad Nassif, who's the CEO of the Middle East leading, Lebanon and the Middle East leading flower company, Exotica.
Good morning, everyone. Or good afternoon, because it's going to be very late. Did you hear me, all of them? Okay. Librairie Antoine is an 80-year-old company, so this is not a company that started with internet. We started the e-commerce business about 7 years ago with the website that was first called librairieantoine.com, then became antoineonline.com. Antoine Online came because we decided that the online business was a totally different business. It has to rely on the brand equity, on the close relationship that the retail business has been building with its clients over the years, but it has to be totally different in the way it's organized and the way it's communicating toward the public, because the product, what we offer online, is different. So we created a joint venture that is actually managing the whole e-commerce aspect of the business alongside with the retail business, and we've been doing that for the past 7 years in Lebanon, but the market is pretty international right now.
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Savitar and I'm with the Landmark Group. For those of you who don't know, the Landmark Group is one of the largest retailers in the Middle East in India.
Okay.
The Landmark Group, like I was saying, is one of the largest retailers in the Middle East and India.
If you lean into the mic. Savitar, if you lean into the mic, I think they can.
The group does about $4.7 billion a year in group sales. And the group is 40 years old this year in 2013. It has, like Joe said, 26 businesses, and we're very proud to have launched the 26th business, landmarkshops.com, 3 months ago. But the other businesses are essentially, like Joe also kind of mentioned, 17 very well-known retail businesses, some of which you may have heard of, like Home Center, Baby Shop, Splash, Iconic, Centerpoint. These are some of the retail businesses in the Landmark Group's portfolio. And what we've done from December onwards, and 3 months ago, is we've taken 3 of these 17 retail businesses online, starting in the UAE. So that's Emax for consumer electronics, Baby Shop for baby and children's products, and Splash for men and women's fashion.
Okay, and Zian?
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. Exotica has been in business since 1978. We're in the business of flowers, plants, and gardens. We've been online for 10 years now. We established it in 2003. And back then it was a chance to place our products online so people can see them. They like to see bouquets before they order them. And it's been a nice ride since then. Today, our online business throughout the year is more than 10% of our total turnover. And during high occasions like Mother's Day, which was yesterday, so happy Mother's Day to all the moms in the room. I'm sure there are many here. So this is the highest selling day for us, and on such a day, our sales add up to about 25% and more of our total turnover. So it's a growing business, and it's a well-established channel for us. And we'll be happy to talk about more details, mostly about flowers. I know you're thinking about salads and meat now, but we'll try to make it interesting as much as possible before lunch.
I think what's interesting about this talk is we have two people who've been online for a long time, but in a primarily coming from a relatively small market, i.e. Lebanon, and then a larger company going into a larger market. Could you, I mean, how have you found the Lebanese market in the 10 years that you've been online?
Sure. First of all, we operate online in both Lebanon and the UAE currently, where we have operations on the ground. Look, it's been a learning process. We cannot say that 10 years ago we had the right strategy. We've been learning as we go. And initially it was a bit slow. Critical mass took some time. About 4 years ago is when we saw this inflection point where effectively critical mass started building in particular on high occasions like Valentine's, Mother's Day, and also a bit on some smaller occasions like Father's Day, Christmas. So it's been a learning process. We thought initially that it's just a store that allows people to see the product, and then gradually we've seen people taking more interest in it. For some numbers, I know people like this. When we started off, we wanted primarily to attract the diaspora, the Lebanese living abroad, that would have loved ones and would want to send them flowers. Now we are engaging on the social platform, on Facebook in particular, with mostly Lebanese fans. So it's about 80-20 for social media, but the exact opposite for online sales, where we have 80% of our clients coming from abroad, 20% coming from the local market.
So 80% are diaspora investing for their families back?
Yes, you'll have somebody working, let's say in the Gulf or in the US, and he would send flowers for his mom, like yesterday. Or people who have occasions like baby borns, weddings, all sorts of occasions that relate to flowers and to giving something to loved ones.
And how fast is this growth? You mentioned 4 years ago you've seen exponential growth.
Yes.
What numbers are we talking here?
I mean, look, as I said, today our online business is about 10% of our total yearly turnover. So this has grown from about 3% 5 years ago. So the last 4 years have really been very fast growth in that particular channel, and it continues. For example, I don't have the final numbers, but I can give you preliminary numbers of yesterday. We had a good day. Our growth in the stores was, according to the economics of Lebanon right now, we're in the range of 5 to 10%. Online, we're 15 to 20%. So obviously, this segment is faster growing than our usual traditional segments.
And we heard yesterday, though, that only 10% of people, this is from the Ipsos Murray talk, only 10% of people in the region are using online buying. But in the UAE, is there kind of issues, particularly around the lack of trust? What are the issues preventing more uptake?
That's a great point. And there seems to be in the Business Week paper in December in 2011, there was an article published about how Gulf shoppers are turning to the web, but it mentioned a lack of trust for e-commerce in the MENA. It is something definitely to think about, but from an online merchant perspective, the most important question is that what are you doing as an online merchant to address those points that essentially form the basis for the lack of trust. So what we are doing from an online retail perspective is that we've taken the customer experience and the user experience extremely seriously out here, and starting with building a very professional, simple, clean, beautifully designed user interface is part of focusing on the overall customer experience. We believe that's one way to approach the whole conversation about a lack of trust. It's also about online payments and about tying up with quality online payment gateway partners. That helps in addressing the online trust question out there. So again, what we've basically done is we've tied up with Cashew, who's a level 1 PCI DSS compliant partner. They've got state-of-the-art fraud management, facilities which give you a great amount of control, over the parameters that go into an online transaction. We're building a bilingual customer support team to also, address our whole goal to basically deliver great customer support. And we know how incredibly important Arabic is to e-commerce and digital on this part of the world. So yes, I mean, it is definitely a topic to talk about and see how to address it, though.
And more for the Lebanese audience, infrastructure is obviously an issue. Also things like PayPal. How big a difference, Cyril, is PayPal going to make a difference to the market in general, as opposed to your company as well?
Well, the main issue for the development of the e-commerce business, especially in Lebanon and in the region as well, is that you have to be compared to a standard. If your standard is the local shop and the relationship you have with the local store, then people want like direct relationships. They want to pay cash or they want to pay by check, etc. If your standard is something that is paying like totally virtualized payment with PayPal, that means that you just have to put password to pay. The process is so easier that it's faster and it's more compelling for people to buy directly when they see the product they want to buy, and they don't have to take out their card and pay online. The other impact also is that we are in competition with not only local stores or e-commerce or local stores. We are in competition with people from all around the world, from Amazon, from major e-commerce players that are selling to people in our market. And if these people offer PayPal to people that can actually play and buy and being delivered locally, by having a PayPal account, these people will switch to us more easily, faster than you used to when they had to be like relying on a local payment gateway, for example.
And I mean, one thing you just touched upon is you're now in a global market online. There's two questions really. First of all, how do you maintain your brand in that market? And secondly, how do you deal with people undercutting your costs if you undercut your own, if you're cheaper online than you are in the store, there's no incentive to go to the store. Who would like to have a go at that one?
So you mentioned about how do you maintain the brand point, and for us, what we are basically doing is we have a hybrid model that we're kind of working together on between e-commerce and our traditional retail businesses that have done so tremendously well, over the last couple of decades, and it's really a joint venture between taking those offline retail brands and successfully taking them online. And one way to, on the second part that you basically mentioned about how will the pricing kind of like model essentially work. What we are, in 99% of cases, we are aiming for price parity between online and offline. Because what we firmly believe is that we don't want online to compete with offline, we don't want offline to compete with online. So in almost every case, if a shirt or a dress is 100 or 200 dirhams like in our stores, you'll see them at exactly the same prices online as well. And this is to state a more global example. This is something that a company like Apple is doing incredibly successfully by maintaining price parity between their online and offline products, and they're seeing a tremendous amount of growth year on year for both offline and online channels.
But is that because Apple's brand is so strong? Surely, I mean, presumably it's... Sorry, go on.
No, please.
I mean, presumably the issue is that you need to have a brand that people will go to you primarily, as opposed to looking on Amazon, particularly with yourselves in books.
I think that most of the product now are somehow standardized. This is not true with flowers, but if you think about it, a book is a book, and you can find that book everywhere in the world. A dress is a dress, and if you're looking at the specific brand, etc., you can compare your product to many online sellers that have different price from major city in the world, whether it's in Paris, Dubai, or New York or in Beirut. So you have to be truthful to your consumer, and you have to propose a price that is comparable to something that they can see somewhere else. And you have to be very trustful in terms of what are the other conditions, and is the product available, how long does it take to get it, and most of the time, and how expensive it is to get it shipped to you. Is it for free, or is it a fixed price, or is it a variable price? All this has to be taken into account so people can compare and take the decision to go to, for example, a local online store instead of going to a major player, for example, or someone else that is playing it with cross borders. Many players are not on directly selling; they're selling on marketplaces. So they're lowering the price for standard product. I'm not talking about fashion brands, for example, but I'm talking about electronics mainly, or books eventually. If you're looking at these prices from sellers from all around the world, these are very low. So the overall service and the cost of that service has to be very clear to the final consumer, so they can make a choice right away.
But in an issue like a book, you've talked about what do you do specifically to differentiate yourself? I mean, you are talking about the general themes, but what specific tactics can companies take to improve their local?
Well, the first thing is the offer. We have been referencing 18 million books, and now there are more than 10 million books available online that can be ordered in Lebanon. Out of these books are all free shipping in Lebanon, which is a major advantage compared to Amazon, for example. And the other thing is the same price applies. I mean, if the book is available locally, then we will propose the same price that it is in local stores. If the book is not available locally, it will be the same price than it is, for example, in London or in Paris, if this is possible. Sometimes it's not, because the book is huge, but usually it is. Usually you can buy the same book on Antoine online at the same price you would buy it in New York. And actually you can find it, which is very important. So the user experience online is not the same offline. When you go to a bookstore, you're browsing, you're looking for a specific offer, you're talking to a bookseller, and that bookseller is advising you. When you're online and you're alone, you want to look for a specific product, so you have to find it. Then comes social media, and then the experience is totally different. I don't know if you want to talk about that right now.
Yeah, definitely.
When you come to social media, you have actually a hybrid between the generic e-commerce experience and the local experience. Why? Because you're talking to someone, and that conversation is very important, because then you come back to the natural human experience. Social media is not about brands. You don't care about brands on social media. It's about the people who are talking to you. So if a brand is communicating, it has to have somehow a human face, which means talking as a human. And when I'm talking to someone on Antoine Online's Facebook page or on Twitter, I'm talking to a bookseller who is advising you, who is telling you what is the solution to your question or your problem. And when it comes to finding a book or a product or a CD or a DVD, or solving a customer support problem, like I wasn't delivered, I don't know where it is, I don't understand the price, things like that. And you're in front of an audience, everyone is looking and listening at what you say. So you have to be human, you have to be truthful, you have to be professional. That means it's a real bookseller who can actually advise. It's not marketing. It has nothing to do about marketing. And then the whole process has to be perfect, because everyone is watching. So it's like a perfect store where you have all these products, millions and millions of products, the whole logistics behind, and then the real people that can actually cater for specific needs, which is somehow a bit difficult to attend.
And you are very active on Facebook. What lessons have you learned from the last couple of years? How does it enable you to engage better?
I'll build on what Cyril said about the human experience, because our product is very emotionally driven. It is related to a person at the end. You're sending in emotion to. So Facebook was a platform that allowed us to engage with people on almost on a one-to-one basis, but on a public platform. So we would post, like an arrangement or a picture, and many people would say, "Wow, we love it," and then they pass it on to their, people they are friends with or they like. So the human experience is the basis of how we engage online. We're not just selling a product that has a catalog number, because what we sell at the end is also made when it's ordered. It's not like that we have hundreds of bouquets lined up and people just click a button and then we just deliver that bouquet. It's a live product. It's a product that's perishable as well, which means that it has a short life cycle and it's made to order. So that's why that human experience is so important, because this leads all the way down to the production. Florists, when they make the bouquet, they have that order with them and they understand a bit who this is going to and what the occasion may be, because there could be a message they have to add, there could be a special occasion they have to make it, respond to. So I would definitely agree with Cyril on the fact that it is the human experience that's making people engage a lot more online rather than just going to a catalog. Our business is not a catalog, it is an interactive thing, and Facebook has helped us a lot to do that.
And on the Facebook issue, how much revenue have you been able to generate from your Facebook? How many people have you been able to turn into actual consumers?
Yes. Look, the intention behind Facebook was not necessarily to convert people to buy, but rather to build traffic and to engage. We link Facebook then to our e-commerce platform. They are two separate things. One is transactional and one is interactional. And these are really two separate things. Facebook is the platform of communication, like when we go on a billboard, like what we do on the radio, but it is so personal and it is in the public eye. So I find Facebook definitely leads, and we've had a growth of conversions gradually since we effectively started Facebook in September 2011. And at the time, ClearTag, the agency, maybe some people are here from ClearTag, helped us to put it together to make it, the platform it is. And then we now are maintaining it in-house. And Facebook is a way to listen and to talk to consumers, while e-commerce is a way to sell them. Two separate things. We've had a conversion of around, I would say today our fan page or our page has about 58,500 fans, and it's growing every day. And out of them, we've seen our visitors to the e-commerce platform match to about 15% of these on a monthly basis.
So would you agree with that, Savatar? Would you agree with that dichotomy between Facebook as a communication tool and e-commerce as a buying tool?
I'd say for us, it makes a lot of sense to actually kind of like integrate the two a little more, because this is what we've done even on day one of launching landmarkshops.com. We've taken social and we've integrated it into the e-commerce experience out there. So I'll give you a small example. If we launched with over 2,000 products on our site. If you actually visit any of our product details pages, you will be able to, and if you enjoy a particular product, you want to share it with a family or a family member or a friend, you can actually click on the share button, and and you can share it over Facebook, over Twitter, or you can email it to a family or friend. Why did we do that? Because we know how important sharing has basically become for the digital experience and even for the transactional kind of experience as well. So that's one example. But for us, we believe it makes a lot more sense to have a very tight integration between social and commerce.
And with regard to the size of the market, one of the things we keep hearing is how the market is growing. Do you ever expect that, first of all, when do you expect that you will be able to make money from online, as in a break-even operation? This is a question to all three of you.
Well, this is a profitable operation. I mean, the online business now. It needs a lot of investment, it needs a lot of rethinking, but it is profitable right now. But the potential is not reached yet. The potential of online business is probably, for example, in the book industry, what we sell, we have two kinds of customers. We have the customers who are looking for books that are not published elsewhere. So that this is Arabic or Lebanese books that you cannot find in the international platforms. And there are the customers who are local and want to buy books that they can't find in local bookstores. These customers is probably a huge market that is now going to major booksellers or call friends and says, well, bring me back that book because I need it. I have a friend who is a scholar in Scotland, for example. He told me once, well, we have a huge problem with Arabic books, for example, because we never find them online. So we need to like call another scholar, a friend, and say, when you come, bring me these 10 kilos of books and take them to me in Edinburgh, for example. That's a huge problem for everyone. So I think that potential is not reached yet. We probably like multiply by 10 what we do now. But what social media brings in is like we can segment the audience, because for example a book is not just a product. It's also about knowledge. It's also about entertainment, the life, etc. Because it's like a mirror of everyday life. So you talk about books as much or a lot more than you actually buy them. So social media is a media. You talk to people and you segment the communication with these people, and this is two-way communication. So you talk about books, and that part in Lebanon specifically and in the region is really low compared to what happens anywhere else. If you go to Goodreads, for example, or if you go to any major book sharing platform, people are talking about English books, French books, Spanish books, etc. Very few people are actually talking about Arabic books, for example, or books published in French, Arabic, or English locally. So all this has yet to be catered for, and so we think that the potential is huge now.
And adding to that, I think social as a catalyst for commerce, I mean, it can't be stressed on enough. I mean, even what we've witnessed in the first 3 months is that because of our Facebook presence and for what we're aiming to do is sharing really useful information and useful insights, with our growing fan base. At one point, we basically witnessed over 20% of our traffic coming through through Facebook, and the potential for social also kind of goes well beyond what we traditionally see, and that's where Facebook integration can play a really important role for what you basically do on your commerce site and why. And a small example to kind of like illustrate this is, say, Joe, if you like if you're a fan of Canon products, I'm a fan of Nikon products. You've liked it on Canon on Facebook. I've liked Nikon on Facebook. We both sign into landmarkshops.com, through the Facebook channel. Because of the Facebook integration, the site understands that you have a preference for Canon, I have a preference for Nikon products, and contextually serves up more Canon products for you and more Nikon products for me. Therefore, actually, enabling deeper personalization and having a more bespoke, tailor-made experience. So, for that particular user. So that's just another example of how important a role social can play from a commerce perspective.
Let me answer the profitability question. Today, our online business in Lebanon is profitable because we are effectively receiving orders through a new medium online and servicing it through our existing infrastructure. So our stores effectively prepare these bouquets and send them off to the customers. So it's just a channel of receiving orders. What is important, and this is what we're thinking about, is in an expansion strategy. If today Exotica is to expand beyond the UAE and Lebanon, where we operate today, would we open a store, or would we just open an online service and then have a workshop that does not necessarily have a boutique or a vitrine? Because the cost of going and investing in a shop has a certain value of hundreds of thousands of dollars, but the cost of operating online and a workshop would make the whole equation change. And I think many retailers are probably thinking about that, as we are. And I believe if we're able to do this, this would be the point of entry into many new markets. Whereas you do not need to necessarily open a whole shop or retail shop. You could do it by building on your brand equity and entering a market through a much more affordable way by receiving online orders, whether through the local or outside, and then servicing them through a logistical light structure, not necessarily a very heavy one.
Reduce your overheads as well. And
Indeed, this is what I was trying to say. So this is a very important question, I believe, that many retailers will be thinking about. Maybe it's going through your mind as well. And I think this is going to be a very important thing to follow and to track.
So could we see the end of the physical bookshop and just an online?
That's exactly the point. I think that I totally agree with Yadbek, because what happens is, if you need a physical store, because what happens in the physical store happens nowhere else. You don't to meet people and to experience the relationship, for example, with an author that is signing with a concert. I mean, a bookstore is a cultural place, and we used to use bookstores just for storing books and presenting them. Now the bookstores are shrinking in terms of the size of the number of books we are storing in them to them, and there is a lot of more items or space dedicated to, for example, a cafe or presenting musicians or authors or conferences, because it's a cultural place. So what happens is the e-commerce side is catering for the logistics and the catalogs and the offer and the price and the communication, bringing in people toward books or cultural life, and the stores are actually strengthening the contact with people that want to have more enhanced experience with the author or with the book itself, because sometimes you need to go and just check for yourself. You need to try the dress or try the shoes if you want to buy them sometimes. So both are working together, and it grows a lot faster. Some people didn't do that and they died, especially in the book industry. All the people that saw that it was pure e-commerce and then or pure bookstores died.
Look, I think this is another question relating also to the product. Obviously, in the publishing industry, and you're a journalist now, I think the online presence has changed over the last 50 years or even 10 years, where you used to write for magazines and for newspapers, and many of them now are even disappearing from their printed version and going online. Photography changed. We used to process films and print them, and then that's changing. Books are changing with online. I hope flowers won't change. We like to think that there will not be a digital flower, even though many people try it, but I'll tell the men here, don't try it with your moms or your loved ones, because you'll get very negative points from that. But obviously it's changing. I cannot predict what will happen in 10 years or 20 years. We need to keep in mind that at the end this is bringing human habits online. It's just a medium at the end, and we have to adapt to how things change. It is very different for young generations in their teens and 20s from people who are above 50. We think of these differently, and they're both our customers. And obviously the level of interaction and interest is very different as well.
Okay, I'd like to throw it out to the audience. Has anyone got anything, a burning question? There's one in the middle there.
Everybody's off to lunch.
Yeah, we'll keep you a few minutes, I promise.
Okay. Hi. My question to all of you is that the conversion rates on online retail in Europe and America are in the vicinity of 2 to 5%. What sort of conversion rates are you experiencing in UAE, for example, or in Lebanon? Thank you.
So it's very early days for us. Like Joe and I mentioned, where landmarkshops.com is 3 months old right now, and we have this is just the beginning. We've started by taking 3 of our retail brands online, but we have in the entirety for Landmark Group, we've got 17 retail businesses with about 25 B2C retail brands. So we've got a tremendous amount of work cut out in front of us. Also, that's from a multi-concept perspective. From a multi-territory perspective, we started off with the UAE as our first market. The Landmark Group's already operating in 19 territories right now. So you can see that we've got a long way to go in terms of growing, stabilizing, and then making sure our resources are in place, our processes are in place, and building one layer at a time, and then going expanding out from a multi-territory perspective. Sorry.
Well, I mean, his question is obviously it may be too early for yourself, but what kind of conversion rate are you hoping for? What are you aiming for?
So you spoke about 2 to 5% is what some of the trends. You're well within the mark from what I've basically read from from sites like the top 500 guide, is that the conversion rate for the most successful internet retailers is 3.22% right now, 2012, 2013. So that's definitely an aspirational conversion rate to basically work towards over a period of time.
Yeah, in the book industry, it's even the figures are really different because the standard is about 6 per 1,000 in terms of conversion rate. Why? Because the content is of the essence. So a lot of people browse but don't buy. We are a lot higher now because the traffic is very targeted. People that comes are people that want to buy. But if you compare that to the traffic we have on our communication on Facebook, for example, this is a lot smaller. So what we try to do is increase the traffic in terms of qualitative traffic on the website. So we don't invest in huge infrastructure and pay lots and lots of money in maintaining the technology in itself, the servers, keeping the conversion rate high enough to make that happen, and push the higher traffic to external communication like social media. So by doing that, we can target more the customers who really want to come, and we can push content anywhere else, so we don't have to cater for that huge traffic that will be converted to a very small amount of people.
Look, for 2012, the average was about 5.6% for Exotica. It changes between day-to-day and occasions. Yesterday, the conversion rate was about 18% because people are coming to buy for their moms. So it's a different experience. Now, to analyze this, and for the ladies, please forgive me. Unfortunately, our name online, exotica.com.lb is Lebanon, but .com is an adult site. And some people bounce out of our site because they're looking for other Exotica. So I don't want to justify this, but there's an element which relates to people looking for something else. But usually people like to target. They know they're looking for Exotica flowers, and the conversion rate is, we believe is satisfactory. So we hope it grows more, but I think average 5.5 up to 15 on high occasions like Valentine's and Mother's Day.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question about e-commerce on a pan-regional basis rather than just within a country. So are there issues, are there significant issues that are holding back the ability to establish regional brands rather than just national brands?
One of the issues, for example, is payment gateways. Just to tell you, for example, a lot of our customers or readers come from Northern African countries like Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and they can't pay online on Lebanese, for example, payment gateway, or even on international payment gateway. So that narrowed down because the search engines and social media reach them very, very nicely. So they come, but they can't buy. So payment gateway is one of the main problems, not because of the payment gateway, but because of the relationship between the banks in these countries and the payment gateways. One of the other problems is the cultural environment. I mean, people don't really look at the same thing in the UAE, in Lebanon, in Saudi, in Egypt, or in Morocco. They don't have the same cultural background. They share a part of it, but it's a bit fake. So if you really want to reach people from all these countries, you need to target them with real content marketing that is focused on their interest and not on a pan-Arabic standard way of communicating. It doesn't exist. I mean, we used to talk about the myth of the Euro consumer 20 years ago in Europe. It's exactly the same in Arabic countries. It's a myth. It doesn't exist for specific product like books, for example. But then when you have one or two authors that are, really well known everywhere else, so that works. But when it comes to marketing and communication, you have to adapt your tone of voice, your content, the kind of picture you're posting, the videos, etc., to a specific market.
And adding to that, another pan-Arab challenge that can be faced is say methods of payment, for example. I mean, the whole difference between the whole online payment argument and cash on delivery, for example. So say in a couple of other countries where online payments are not as popular, the more dominant form of payment could be cash on delivery, which again has its own risks from a business perspective. And I think any merchant who's getting quite serious about e-commerce and online retail has to understand the risks associated with cash on delivery and accept it as a challenge associated with taking your e-commerce business and trying to make it a success on a pan-Arab basis. Because, for example, say what we've kind of researched is that the return rate for orders done on a pure online basis is around 2%, but for payments done with through pure online payments. But for orders placed through pure online payments, but for cash on delivery, the return rate could be as high as 7 to 10 times more than what the rate is for pure online payments.
So up to 15% return rate.
From what we've understood, 15 to 20% is what can be experienced with the cash on delivery channel. And these are all points that from a business perspective you must take these into account before committing to an additional payment method.
And how do you factor that in?
Sorry?
How do you factor that in? What specific measures do you take to counteract that 15%?
So what you can basically do is to counteract the 15% is to maybe spend a good amount of time on the root cause analysis. So say if you introduce the cash on delivery channel and you start experiencing a higher rate of returns, start really spending more time into why those returns are happening. Take a look at the processes involved for those particular orders. See what kind of process improvements can be done. If it's a resource issue, see what kind of resource improvements can be made. And to take those lessons learned and kind of apply them to future cash orders and work towards reducing that return rate though.
I just wanted to answer from our perspective. I think the biggest challenge is to secure quality, because the product that we sell has to match what the customer's expectations are, and this is a custom built product. I mean, you order a bouquet online, you need to get the same thing. So let's say we want to expand into Jordan, to think about that. How can we secure that we have the right skills and raw materials that will secure the same bouquet that you get in Lebanon or in the UAE? This is for us the biggest challenge, is to secure the quality, and that's not that easy.
There's a microphone behind you.
There's two aspects to e-commerce, of course. One side is payment, so how to pay for the goods. The second aspect is logistics. So are there issues? Are there issues in crossing borders? Are there issues in regional distribution?
Absolutely, and this is where working with the right partner can really help mitigate the number of instances you have with such cross-border kind of issues. Some merchants choose to work with 3PL, third-party logistics providers, to overcome some of these more supply chain logistics related oriented issues. And again, if you are experiencing them, you do have to figure out why are they happening and what can you do internally from within to work towards mitigating them as well.
If I may, Antoine Online is part of our business, but we sell internationally, and logistics is a huge part of our operation. And in every major country where we supply and sell, we have a logistic operation, whether it's outsourced to a logistic partner or handled ourselves, which means that we have our own system, and it's on like mobile system, so it can be given to a third party, and it's the quality control is done at every steps, or we interface to the logistics, and all that is a huge investment. But if you don't do that, it's almost impossible to have your product delivered in a reasonable amount of time with a quality that matches the standards internationally. So the problem in terms of market in the region is that, well, you can have something in Saudi, in Egypt, and in the UAE, but it's very difficult to then to go everywhere else because it's smaller markets. And also it's in markets where you don't have the logistic partners that can actually deliver the product. So you have to pay a huge amount of money for expedited deliveries to deliver in these countries. So that limits the market as well.
Unless, there's a question in the middle. If you
My question is to Ziad. Ziad, you were talking about when you consider launching new markets, you consider the online presence first over the offline presence. From a business profitability point of view, I think that's because the fixed costs of the rent and the operational costs and all this stuff. So what are you going to do if you have another competitor who's just working just online and he's saving all the fixed costs that you have, so he can get his prices almost half of yours? So are you going to let go of the whole offline retail thing with high fixed costs and just focus online, or what are you going to do? I'm asking for the brands, for the established brands, which have a huge chain of offline stores, but they're facing a serious competition from the online stores because of the pricing.
Right. When I talked about this, I said this is one of the challenges we have to define our strategy. I think we need to stay open in terms of options. There are a few players now on an international level, like Interflora, that sell flowers online. The way they do it is they take the order online and then they channel it through a local florist, let's say. They have a network of florists. That's one strategy, but as I said, this does not secure quality because you don't know what you're going to get. Now, let's say we talk about the market of Jordan or Egypt. If Exotica wanted to penetrate that market today, we can go and find the highest street and then open an offline store. And that creates brand presence. And that's the traditional way of entering into those stores. But so this is one way. It will cost us, let's say, $500,000 to build a store in Cairo. But to go online in Cairo today, we would need the logistical setup, which may cost less than this. But then you need to ensure there's equity for our brand in the market of Cairo or in the market of Egypt. So I think we need to weigh the return on investment on both and think, if we are to penetrate Egypt, which one would we follow? Should we start online, where our equity is today weaker in Egypt? Or do we go and open a store, spend 2-3 years in marketing, and then introduce the online services as well? I think both questions are there, and our approach is whatever works if we are going to expand into specific countries of the Middle East. So it's not necessarily one or the other. I don't see that it should be one only and not the other one. It will depend on the market.
But as I know, the huge retailers, they have this pricing strategy. So you can't offer, like in flowers, you can't offer this pack of flowers for $20 in Dubai and for just £5 or £10 in Egypt. Even in the same market, you can't offer it in the store for $20 than online for $10. But you're going to have competition that has no physical presence, have no fixed costs. The operation costs are very low, so they can offer almost half your price, and they are still profitable. What I'm asking, are you going to change the entire pricing strategy, the brand positioning, that you're a high-end brand, or what do you think you're going to do?
Okay, let's take the current.
Because I think it's.
Let me answer you with reality today. Today we exist in the UAE and in Lebanon with stores on the street and services online. The portfolio we have inside the stores is known. It's fixed and it's sometimes custom made. What we have online is also a portfolio that's well defined. About 60 products that you can sell, you can buy today online with the same price in the UAE and in Lebanon. So we have a lot of products that are common to both markets at the same dollar price. What varies is the VAT that you pay locally in Lebanon versus what you may pay in other countries. So we have standardized our product pricing and product selection online today for both two markets, UAE and Lebanon. And you also have in that same menu the ability to look for Lebanon-only prices and, Lebanon-only products and UAE-only products. We feel that if we are to expand into a third country, let's say we'll apply the same thing. We'll have common products at the same price for both the two countries, and then you have some specific products for specific markets as well, and you can browse through them and select them. Now, how do these compare to our products in the store? We have also matched them so that the same thing you order online, you can find in the store for the same value as well. So online has allowed us to also become more competitive in our positioning. Exotica remains the same positioning. It's more accessible online as a service, but it still maintains its positioning from a marketing and market position point of view. Right? So it's not an easy question, it's every day, but today we've been able to bring all of these on one platform for UAE, Lebanon, in-store and online. How it may present itself in Egypt, I'm not sure. This is a more competitive market with a lot of different dynamics. We are thinking about other markets, but today in these two markets we operate in, it's working.
Okay, just to kind of wrap up, if I were to ask you each, if you were advising a company that's just really going online now, just what advice would you offer to them? Some key bits of advice.
Well, first, e-commerce is important, but it's not everything. I mean, your online presence starts step by step. For like communicating with your audience, bringing people to the stores, what you know, what to do well, and going to marketplaces, identifying the markets that are closer to your audience, even if they're not your region. I mean, you may be very well accepted, I don't know, in Europe or in Eastern Europe because your product has no comparison over there. And I don't stay focused on your actual market because e-commerce lets you go everywhere else, but think about what you have compared to the people you can see over there, and focus on the quality, overall quality of service. This is everything. You can die as an online e-commerce seller instantly when social media rip you off because you don't deliver on time and you don't support your customer. So you have to be ready. So you have to think about everything first and then monitor that every day.
Brilliant. Thank you. Savita?
Okay. If I had to give advice for anybody who's planning on entering the online retail space, stay obsessively focused on the user experience and the customer experience because it makes all the difference in the world. Another point would basically be remember that treat online retail and getting into it as a marathon and not as a sprint, because it's important to remember that you're in it for the long run and that you've got to survive the short and medium run until then. And the third point and last point I say is focus on your product roadmap and carefully plan out what you're going to do each quarter and why.
Ziad?
What I would say is it's a new world, so we learn by doing. One needs to stay very flexible. This has been our approach. We have tried, learned, made mistakes, changed, and we do this every day. So learn by doing, be flexible.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you so much. It's time for lunch.
Thank you.
Thank you.